cover the economy. Oh man. So as okay, there it is. So as you all may be aware right now, and this is what I'm going to wrap up with, is that we are experiencing a combination of a supply crunch and a demand increase, which converge to create inflation. We have higher inflation now than we've had for the last year. Now, some of that can be attributed to pent-up demand, and pent-up demand being everybody was staying at home for, a year. People with money weren't really going out, or were refusing to go out because they were afraid of COVID or didn't want to get sick or was just playing it safe, or couldn't go out because of lockdowns, mask mandates, or just what have you. People coming out and going out in droves now are driving the prices up for everything. Now, when that happens, you're going to have some inflation. The question is whether that inflation will be sustained. Companies right now are looking at long-term price increases to deal with the cost increases that go into their operating budget. The two biggest being parts and labor. Now, labor costs are going up in the United States thanks to things like an increased minimum wage. Delaware recently signed $15 minimum wage, and a slew of other countries over the last year and a half, states over the last year and a half, have also signed on to $15 minimum wage. With pressure being on labor itself because of high demand and low labor participation, you're seeing more pressure naturally happen to push wages up as labor is scarce as well. Now, with that, we can get into some of the examples. So Oreo companies looking to increase prices, Whirlpool's looking to increase prices as well. And there's one thing that not a lot of people may be aware of, but it has an actual economic term called shrinkflation. Now, it is exactly what it sounds like. What shrinkflation is that you are paying more for less, but you're paying the same amount rather, or less. And people are very, very price conscious, but they're not conscious about the amount of goods that they are buying. So if you go into the store today, chances are you'll see reduced size of cereal boxes, maybe a little bit less weight on toilet paper and the like, but the price didn't go down with the decrease in amount. That's shrinkflation. If you want to get a good look at shrinkflation and analysis on that, go ahead and check out NPR's Planet Money. They do a good story about it. But like I said, long story short, less goods, same price, shrinkflation. It's how companies can hide the price increases and pass those on to consumers without having consumers be the wiser. Another issue that we're seeing here is that we're actually seeing a run-up in housing demand. Housing demand in general, so that includes renting and owning, might push inflation up higher because more people are competing for fewer homes. Part of the reason for this is because of the real estate market being fundamentally changed, or not maybe necessarily fundamentally changed, but altered. And no, that's the same thing. Being the demand for housing being pushed forward due to the pandemic. Now, the reason I say that is that people like myself, young professionals that might have been working at an office for years or whatever, and had this and were enjoying their apartment in the middle of the city, might have decided during the pandemic to buy a house for more space in order to set up their offices. With the immense amount of savings from young professionals, middle class and up people, you have a lot more money that can be used to buy housing. If a person was looking to buy a house within the next 5-10 years, but suddenly has enough money for a down payment because they haven't been going out and spending it all the time, they are more likely to do that now while they still have the money than push it and to later. And with rates being low as they are for mortgage, we're talking 2.5%, anywhere between 1.8% interest to 2.8% interest, depending on your credit level. Those are historically low. I myself had actually refinanced. I bought my house, bought my mortgage, I should say, right before the start of the pandemic because I was doing well enough that I could do this, plus the GI Bill. Yay, GI Bill. Thank you for that. But I actually refinanced my house so I could save $100 a month on the front end, just to have a little bit more spending money and the ability to maybe put it into savings so it could grow over time more than paying off my house quicker could do. So people doing that sort of thing and doing it now rather than later is putting demand on the houses. One of the things that we see with that is that we're actually seeing the market cool down because prices have been going through the roof too quickly. Part of this is because of foreign investors and mutual fund investors like BlackRock buying up a lot of excess housing supply and putting pressure onto prices, but that's slowing. And then another case being that people that might have been able to afford a house a year ago can't afford a house now because of the prices being out of their budget and therefore waiting it out, which is actually being recommended by a lot of economists and realtors at large. So we have that. We also are seeing in the economy a jump in claims of 419,000 for unemployment. Part of the reason for this increase in unemployment, despite the fact that the economy is on the cusp of a boom, it's still being, it's still filtering out, it's still shifting, there's still settling that needs to happen, is because of the chip shortage that we've been talking about over our last few programs. The auto manufacturing industry has actually went through and shuttered plants temporarily due to the inability to produce more cars because they can't get a hold of chips in order for the onboard computers that exist in modern cars. So they're unable to actually manufacture the cars, and if they can't manufacture them, paying people to do no work is actually not in their best interest. So they've shutted plants down, at least temporarily. That is a temporary thing. A lot of the increase in inflation that we've seen is from actually auto manufacturing, or not from automobiles rather. And once that settles and becomes quote unquote normal, whatever normal actually is, you should see a decrease in the amount of money needed to buy a car, and therefore a decrease in inflation. Now, one of the things that I did want to talk about is, and this is like an analysis bit, is that what we're seeing now with labor is we might actually see a decrease in labor force participation due to stimulus money. This is not a thing that liberals and leftists want to talk about necessarily, because it might give power to Republicans for people being told that they are just going to get paid to sit on their ass. But it's one of those things that actually is, in my opinion, a good thing. The child tax credit went into effect this month. It goes through December, and it is basically half of the earned income tax credit you would get from being a parent onto the front end in a prebate, which means you get paid a X amount of dollars every month until through December, and then you'll get the remaining half in your 2021 tax filings. It is a significant amount of money for poor people. For upper middle class people and above, not so much. And this is actually enough money that might justify a person going from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. Let me explain. And I'm going to pull up this on the camera here. So this is the child tax credit calculator provided here by CNET that is going to determine how much you should get a month based on the number of children you have and your adjusted gross income. A typical family in the United States, we can say, makes, I believe, $62,000 a year. Actually, let's go ahead and check that. Median income USA. Oh, okay. So median income is actually 31. I guess I thought it was 60. Oh, okay. Yeah, median household income is 68. That's what it was. That must be median income for individuals. For household income, it's 68,703. So we'll go ahead and just round that up to 69,000 for this exercise. So we're going to say 69,000 for a family of 4. And so we're going to say married. And we're going to say we're gonna not say children 5 and under. We're just gonna say all the kids in this hypothetical scenario are between the ages of 6 and 17, because that is where the lower end of the money is coming from. And we'll say they have 2 kids. So we're saying 2 adults, 2 kids, $69,000 a year. Calculated that. Look at that. Your estimated child tax credit is $6,300. You will receive $3,000 in monthly payments from July through December of 2021. Afterwards, you will receive another $3,000 after you file your 2021 tax returns. This was an increase into the income tax credit for children. One of the things that Romney is actually supportive of, and a lot of more kind of populist, quote unquote, Republicans that care about family and family formation and keeping families together and providing for them are actually in support of. Now, if we go ahead and do some basic math here, so that is from July. So July to December is 6 months. So that's $18,000. And then if we say that another income, so 30,000, we'll just assume that this amount of money here that is earned is from a 2-income household. So both people earn 34,500. So we're going to say 34,500 divided by, and we're going to say 6 months, because it's a half a year. 34,500 divided by 6 is 5,750 a month. So you're getting almost halfway there, right? You're getting a little over halfway there with this $3,000 monthly payment. If you're a 2-income household making that much money, and you say you're a part-time worker, you're only making actually $20,000 a year, and your other partner makes $49,000 a year, what have you, which is a typical case in a 2-income household with kids, that because child care costs are as much as they are, it might be better for you to drop out of the workforce and actually just take care of your kids. This is only true for people that one person works what we would typically consider a middle class job, while the other person works a lower wage job in like retail or something. In those cases, it might be more beneficial for for the lower income person to drop out of the workforce, stay with their kids, and then just pocket this money. Now, would it be better for them to just work and save the money? Sure. Maybe in raw economic terms, but we can't know what would be better for them and their in particular family situation. If this is something that actually proves to be true, this is going to put more pressure on wages in general as people drop out of the workforce, because they're able to stay at home with their kids and not have to work as much as they would normally due to having this access of income. This is essentially a UBI for people with kids. So I don't want to call it UBI. It's basically a basic income guarantee for people with kids. It can't be UBI because it's not universal. Not everybody has kids. So it's a basic income guarantee for people with kids. And this could be a fairly amazing and game changer thing that could end up being better for people in the country long term. Because if you have 2 people working all the time, making, just over minimum wage or what have you, and not being able to spend time with their kids and give that focus, that takes resources away from the kids and maybe makes it harder for them to make it to school or get the kind of care, need, and attention that they need simply due to poverty. So that is something that I think did need to be pointed out after I looked this up, and one of those things that the Republicans might have a point about. So I will give that concession to Republicans, but unlike them, I don't consider this a bad thing. The amount of people still looking for work and working is going up, despite the existence of things like the extra bit of unemployment money, which Republican states have actually cut immensely, and the like, and that sort of thing. So yeah. But with that, I am sad to say that we are out of time. If you liked what you heard, and I know you did because you stayed